Your child were repeatedly molested on a school minivan. You might think the courts would hold school district officials accountable. Well, you'd be wrong.
Well, the I-Team's Tom Merriman reveals how some Ohio judges are telling victims what happens on the bus stays on the bus.
Bill and Stacy, the I-Team found the sexual assault of a little girl inspires little sympathy from an Ohio court and even less from the school district responsible for her safety.
There's nothing else going on in the world, and you're pushing this.
I think a 7-year-old being raped on a minivan at school is a serious story. You don't think that's a serious story? You don't think that's a serious story?
Talk to our superintendent.
It's deadly serious to Bernadine Wade. She's suing the Jackson School District.
He did stuff to that child that I ain't never had done to me, and I'm 57 years old. It's horrible.
Her daughter will never be the same.
I'm outraged, I'm angry, and I have every right to be.
A 7-year-old special education student.
She was the baby on the minivan. She was the only girl, and she was the only black.
Beginning in 2003, riding to school in a 7-passenger minivan with emotionally disturbed teenagers.
She's placed in the back seat, far back corner.
Alone with then 16-year-old Justin Abney.
His background, everyone knew about.
In his deposition, Abney admits to a long, violent history with multiple fights, suspensions, arrests, pulling a knife in 4th grade, threatening to shoot a girl on the bus in middle school. He spent 8th grade in an anger management facility.
Now, do you recall threatening to shoot someone with a gun?
I think that's what I said, something to that extent.
Abney admitted to having 20 sex partners by the age of 14.
And they put a little girl on a van by herself with somebody like that.
Justin Abney has confessed to sexually assaulting Bernadine's daughter 2 to 3 times a week for a year and a half.
It ain't crossed my mind my child was being raped and sodomized. It ain't even in my brain.
How the heck does a little girl get raped in the back of a van over and over again, and you don't know about it?
Yeah, for 2 years.
And you had no idea?
Give me a break. Give me a break. It didn't happen.
Driver Gary Villard insists Abney is actually an innocent man. So to this day, you don't think it happened?
Absolutely didn't happen. No,
you think
sir.
She's making it up?
Yes, sir.
Justin Abney apparently disagrees. He pled to gross sexual imposition, spent a year in a juvenile sex offender facility, and didn't even attempt to defend himself in a civil lawsuit brought by the child's family.
How many sexual encounters did you have before the bus driver moved the 2 of you to the middle seat?
I'd have to say maybe 10, 15 times.
Abney testified the sex resumed after he returned to the back bench a day later.
Then why doesn't the little girl come and tell the driver? She's scared of the bus driver.
You had no training on recognizing sexual assault.
I don't need it. What do I need? I know what sexual assault is. I'm an adult.
But to recognize the indicators of it, you don't need any training for that?
No, because it never happened.
That is hogwash. And every parent, when they see this interview, ought to be outraged.
You couldn't see the 3rd bench, right?
No, sir. No, sir.
Why didn't you get a mirror, just so you could see what was going on back there? She's 7 years old.
How are you going to put a mirror back there?
Well,
a mirror's made to drive.
Reasonable people would have said, wait a minute, this is not right.
If a tree falls in the forest, it doesn't make a noise. If you don't hear it, you don't see it,
see no evil,
I guess
hear no
it doesn't happen.
It's unlikely school officials will ever be required to acknowledge what really happened on that minivan, and a jury will never get to decide whether they were negligent. That's because an Ohio Court of Appeals recently ruled a child who's assaulted or even repeatedly raped on a school bus or van has no right to file a lawsuit.
No responsibility. So, the heck with me and my little girl. Forget us.
Do you think this is justice?
That's not justice. That ain't even fair.
Districts can be sued for the negligent operation of a motor vehicle. But several Ohio courts have ruled operating a bus does not include protecting the children on the bus from sexual assault.
This is really a major problem across the state and across the country.
Attorney John Hill represents a 10-year-old girl who was allegedly molested on a Marlington school bus, tossed out of court for the same reason. As a parent, when I put my child on a school bus, how much protection do I have that they're not going to be raped or assaulted?
Not much. When the law is interpreted this way, you don't have any assurance that your kid's going to be safe because the people who are charged with making them safe aren't held accountable if they do it wrong.
I'm driving a special ed van right now with 2 little girls in it and boys, and I will assure you, nothing's happened.
And in Ohio, that's about all the assurance a parent can get. A reality Bernadine Wade refuses to accept.
Somebody gonna hear the voice that's coming from this mother about what happened to my little girl.
Now, a Starr County judge initially ruled that a jury should decide whether the Jackson Local School District was negligent. That decision was reversed on appeal. Now, Bernadine Wade is hoping the Ohio Supreme Court will agree to take her case. Jackson Local Schools Superintendent Cheryl Hashak told the I-Team she had absolutely no comment for this story.
All right, Tom, at least some people are saying this did not happen at all, as we heard in your report. So let's talk about the safety of kids in the future. How can that be guaranteed?
Yeah, and that not happen. Justin Abney has confessed to this a number of different ways. That's not really an issue at this point, except for the school district people. In terms of the future, a number of children's rights groups are now weighing in because unless you can hold school districts accountable in court, they have no fear unless they have little incentive to make absolutely certain they're taking steps to protect kids. So really, it is a very dangerous time for kids on school buses.